At 6:42 a.m. local time, the Venezuelan Navy was patrolling its northern coast, just another day on routine surveillance. However, what was initially thought to be a mundane sighting of a fishing vessel quickly turned into an extraordinary encounter, one that would reverberate through the region. Out of nowhere, the ocean erupted. An enormous object shot through the surface of the water, throwing seawater into the air. It wasn't a fishing trawler, but something far more powerful, a Virginia-class U.S. Navy submarine. For the Venezuelan crew on board the Gyri patrol vessel, the scene that unfolded was something they had read about in books or heard about in war stories, but never something they had expected to encounter firsthand. With the submarine's sudden surfacing, the tension between these two world powers escalated in a battle of silent posturing, a game of cat and mouse, where the stakes were as high as the waters around them. The unexpected appearance. The moment the submarine's sail broke the surface, the calm of the sea was shattered. There was no warning, no radio call, no distress signal. It was as if the submarine had materialized from the depths, making an eerie appearance that seemed designed to send a message, both to Venezuela and the world. For the crew of the Gyri, the sight was a stark reminder of the overwhelming power that can lurk just beyond their surveillance capabilities. At first, the submarine didn't appear to be drifting aimlessly. It was calculated, deliberate, and precise in every move. The Venezuelan crew was immediately on high alert, trying to make sense of what was unfolding before them. Through the binoculars, the vessel appeared sleek and black, nearly invisible against the glaring sunlight. Nothing like any standard ship they had encountered before. The unmistakable outline of a Virginia-class nuclear-powered attack submarine was clear. The U.S. Navy's Virginia-class submarines are the epitome of modern naval power. Silent and deadly, these submarines can remain submerged for months, gathering intelligence without detection. Their presence so close to Venezuela's coast wasn't an accident. It was a calculated show of force designed to remind Venezuela of the military might at the United States' disposal. The silent standoff. What followed was a rare and tense naval standoff, one that unfolded with the kind of precision and composure expected of the U.S. Navy. For nearly an hour, the two vessels faced off. The Gyri remained stationary, while the American submarine sat motionless, barely disturbing the water around it. On board the Venezuelan ship, every officer kept their eyes glued to the sea, while the sonar operator adjusted the settings, trying to track the movements of the submarine. The Virginia-class sub, despite being within visual range, didn't budge. It sat there like a predator, seemingly content to wait. The Venezuelan crew tried to maintain a safe intercept angle while recording every second of the encounter. The range between the two ships fluctuated between 1.9 and 1.3 nautical miles, drawing closer and closer, making the tension palpable. This wasn't an engagement of weapons, it was a display of resolve. The Venezuelan vessel maintained its position, while the U.S. submarine remained completely silent, emitting no noise, making no significant moves. In the world of naval warfare, these kinds of silent postures are a subtle but powerful way to assert authority without crossing the line into open conflict. Gray zone warfare. The encounter between the two vessels was a classic example of gray zone warfare, where military power is displayed in subtle, non-lethal ways. This kind of naval maneuver is often used to demonstrate control of strategic areas without the risk of triggering open warfare. In this case, the U.S. Navy was operating as part of Operation Sentinel South, a security operation aimed at intercepting illegal drug trafficking routes and arms smuggling in the Caribbean. The operation took place well beyond Venezuela's territorial waters, in international waters that the U.S. Navy has every right to patrol. However, politically, this presence was seen as an outright provocation by the Venezuelan government, which has long claimed that these waters belong to its extended Bolivarian security zone. The U.S. sees it as a clear case of freedom of navigation, but for Venezuela, it's a violation of sovereignty. What made this particular encounter so tense was that the submarine had deliberately surfaced near the Venezuelan patrol vessel. The move was calculated and meant to send a message. The United States could operate in these waters anytime it chose, and there was nothing Venezuela could do to stop it. The silent chess match. For both sides, this was about much more than territory or enforcement of the law. It was a matter of posture. The Gyri and the American submarine were locked in a battle of nerves, each waiting for the other to make the first move. At times, it seemed as if neither side wanted to blink, to make the first overt move that might escalate the situation into something far more dangerous. The captain of the Venezuelan vessel, knowing the stakes, gave commands with calm precision. The Venezuelan crew made every effort to monitor the American submarine's movements, staying within safe parameters but showing that they weren't going to back down. Every sonar pulse, every visual observation was meticulously logged. The crew on the Gyri knew this encounter wasn't just about securing the waters, it was about gathering evidence, data that would later be analyzed and used to assess the situation politically and militarily. Meanwhile, aboard the U.S. submarine, the situation was no less tense. Every action, no matter how subtle, was a part of the game of presence. The submarine had already achieved its goal of showing power and control. The American crew was careful to avoid any aggressive moves, knowing that the Venezuelan cameras were capturing everything. They weren't in a fight, they were making a statement. The tension breaks. For nearly 30 minutes, the two vessels were locked in this silent chess match. Then, the submarine began to move. It wasn't much, a slight shift to port, just enough to make the Venezuelan crew take notice. The US sub was now subtly aligning itself with the Venezuelan vessel. It was a calculated move, one that was meant to demonstrate the complete control the submarine had over the situation. The Venezuelan captain reacted swiftly, maintaining course but also adjusting the vessel's position to keep the submarine in sight. The game of presence had reached its peak, and the stakes couldn't be higher. But then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the American submarine began to dip beneath the waves. In just a few seconds, the sea closed over it, and it was gone, just as silently as it had arrived. The aftermath. In the aftermath of the encounter, the Gyri stood still. The crew took a few moments to absorb what had just happened. It had been a standoff unlike any they had experienced before. No shots had been fired, but the psychological impact of the event would remain for years. On the American side, the submarine had already descended to over 200 feet below the surface, its crew analyzing the encounter and recording data on the Venezuelan vessel's response time, tactics, and the reaction to the silent posturing. The submarine had left behind nothing but a faint trace on the radar, a ghost in the ocean. For the Venezuelan Navy, this encounter would be a story they would recount for years, a reminder of the delicate balance of power in the Caribbean. For the U.S. Navy, it was another successful gray zone operation, a reminder that in modern naval warfare, presence is often more powerful than any missile or gun. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most intense naval encounters of our time, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more real-world military stories and analysis. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on future videos. We want to hear from you too. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.